Kuzu Zangpula. My name is Damcho and I am the Director, Department of Tourism. I'm delighted to have my colleague, long-term friend, Anna Pollock, here in this beautiful place called Dunkarzong. Dunkarzong is it's an icon of change for us. It's showcasing possibilities for us. And as you have seen this, outside is the traditional fortress, but inside, this is environmental friendly. Big lighting, natural lighting. You can see solar panels on the roof. So this is the best spot we can get, best venue we can get for our first Regenerative Bhutan Forum, and we're very proud to have it here to showcase and being able to have our first Regenerative Bhutan Forum. And I'm so delighted, Anna, to be speaking to you about regenerative tourism. Bhutan started tourism in 1974. His Majesty the Fourth King blessed us with high value, low volume tourism. And all along we thought it's sustainable tourism. And we realized recently that it's regenerative tourism. It's making Bhutan better. It's making our lives better. It's making your lives experiences transformational. So that is very important. And this first Regenerative Bhutan Forum being conducted under the SUSTO program in collaboration with Association of Witness Tour Operators and other partners. We are very delighted to have you. And Anna, today, who else but to ask you questions on regenerative tourism? You're a leader and you're a founder of Conscious Travel. So you have spent over 50 years traveling the world, seeing the world, speaking, being the voice of Conscious Traveler, being the voice of regenerative travel. So it's my pleasure to be speaking to you today. Anna, thank you. And first I want to begin, how did your journey start in this regenerative conscious travel?
Well, before we begin that, or I answer that, let me just give you my heartfelt gratitude for the opportunity to come back. As you know, I was here in 2012 with Pata to speak.
Yes, in Paro.
And that was a turning point in my life because I had been questioning the current industrial model, I call it, for tourism based on just numbers and growth. But I didn't have an alternative, and I didn't think there would be any country willing to switch off GDP as an objective. And yet your fourth king had that vision, and that's gross national happiness. So, and I've already forgotten what you asked me, but I did want to say thank you first.
Anna, my question to you was, how did it start for you, your journey over 50 years into regenerative and conscious travel, which is very, very important for us?
Well, actually, I really do believe that I always have been questioning the way tourism was changing the world as fast as it was, and that it was so committed to getting bigger and bigger every year without thinking of the negative consequences. And so I founded Conscious Travel around the time that I was here. But what we didn't have was a clear idea of what the purpose, the alternative purpose would be. And I would argue that GNH that's why it's regenerative, because it has a purpose of creating the conditions for a country and its people to thrive. That's what GNH is actually all about. It's taken another, 13, 14 years for the rest of the world to understand that, or not the rest, some of the rest of the world to begin to understand that too. That is to say, we've realized that sustainability is the right beginning. What you're recognizing is that tourism does in fact, and we're talking about tourism right now, so tourism does have negative consequences. It uses up resources, it creates some harm in many places. Now we have tourism sort of causing damage simply because there's sheer number of people in some places. So we had to have a way of thinking about alternative purpose, to alternative ways of measuring success. But there hasn't been one really in tourism. We now talk about, countries are now talking about well-being, health. People in tourism are talking about tourism as a force for good, but not necessarily getting into the underbelly of tourism and saying, is that enough? Similarly, sustainability was that attempt to reduce the damage, to do less harm. And regeneration is, by the way, not a tourism idea, as you know. I mean, regeneration is coming out of our understanding of the parallel way we are in, the way we have up-tipped the balance of nature. And we're now seeing the consequences everywhere in the world, in different forms. and that we have to go back to first principles and say, who are we as human beings on the planet? What is our role as human beings on the planet? So those questions are being asked outside of tourism long before tourism was to the idea.
And what did you think of the first day of our forum yesterday? We talked about a lot about regenerative tourism, and we shared our high value, low volume regenerative ideas. What did you think of that of the first day yesterday?
Oh, it was inspiring in many respects. I do believe that you have from the presentations and how you see the way you want to take tourism into the world, the commitment amongst many of the people around, these were people in the tourism industry too. So I was very excited and impressed by that, but I still think it needs to go a lot deeper, because a lot of people are frankly interpreting regeneration as just simply doing more good than harm. And that's a really good stage to go. And I'm now going to talk more about tourism outside of Bhutan. But even here we need to do the work to understand that it is such a deep, not mindset shift, it's a paradigm shift, it's a fundamental shift up here and here.
Yes.
As to how we relate to this magnificent nature that isn't out there, it's in here too.
Yes.
And so we've got a lot of more work to understand how we work with our kin in the animals and the plants and all the entire system that creates this beauty that we see. How do we really understand how to work with the living system?
Okay. You, Anna, you know Bhutan now a bit.
A little bit. I would never say I'm an expert on it.
Yes. So from that little experience that you have with Bhutan, what has to happen to really let our high value, low volume regenerative tourism policy to be understood by the whole nation, and it trickles down to getting tourists who believe in restoring, regenerating, reviving. What has to happen in that area?
Well, I think there's two levels. I think internally, well, let me say this. I think that I do believe that Bhutan has every right to step forward and say we're a regenerative destination because of your fundamental principles of your economy and your life, which is to create conditions for flourishing. The 9 pillars all express that.
Yes.
So that's why I say you have more right than many other places who want to put that label on themselves. But having said that, we're now talking about, as I say, this paradigm shift, this understanding that we are part of everything we see around us, and we have to work as a living system as part of it. That takes a bit of understanding. What I see here, you have a fairly autocratic type of top-down type of government system. Your kings have shown a phenomenal understanding of the need to change and how to change. We have to have this living systems approach, which is another word for regeneration, now seep throughout all the levels of government.
I like your machine thinking and system thinking.
Yeah, I would argue that many of your people at the top of government have been trained in a machine thinking, even though you have this as an objective. They've gone to university outside of Bhutan, we've learned all the normal values, we've done the economics, MBAs, etc., etc. And we're still thinking, that's a machine thinking. So we need to change that into a living system thinking. So the first thing I would do now is to start to, bring people together and bring in some people who really are leaders in living systems thinking into the country. And I would also suggest that you invite some leaders in the private sector. Certainly in tourism, bring your associations into that learning process.
Okay.
Because it's still a young idea. Don't rush too far. On the other hand, I think as a marketeer in tourism, I think I would go out and really have every opportunity to talk about what the purpose, the GNH means as a country and how it has benefited your country. We know that you've achieved very low rates of poverty, much higher rates of literacy. You have free healthcare. Your young people are very well, all the young people I'm meeting here are beautifully spoken, poised, mature. They have a sense of, self. And any employer in the outside world would be love to snap them up. But their full potential and what they're capable of isn't necessarily going to be fully utilized.
Anna, I just want to follow up on what we were discussing as we drove here. You know, for Bhutan, the vision is very clear. Regenerative tourism. Tourism has to make Bhutan better. It has to make our lives better. It has to transform people who come here. But at the same time, we have our own challenges. There's a good number of suppliers, especially the hotels, who are really doing maybe about 10% occupancy. This is very, very
Yes,
bad.
yes.
So that is probably very short term for us. Yesterday, in the first day, we talked about numbers. Numbers play an important role. Staying longer, important role. So that's a very urgent uh,
Well,
regeneration we may have to do. But also we have the longer term vision of regenerative of high value. You know, we have to achieve this. Have you? I mean, what is your advice on this? And
okay,
have you, yeah.
I'm still thinking this one through, okay?
Okay.
And I think there may be some resistance to this, but high value tourism doesn't always mean high priced tourism, okay? I think you're sitting in Asia, Asia's growing, there's no shortage of people that will pay the absolute top price for a luxury 4 or 5 star hotel. But it's your 3-star hotels that are where most of your industry participants are operating. Am I correct? I mean,
Yes.
those are the numbers you
Yes.
need. So the challenge you have at the moment is that how to structure the offer in a way, so that it's not beyond the reach of the people that would be more than happy to stay in 3-star. I do say in the short run you do have to focus on numbers,
Yes.
because you were really devastated by COVID,
A bit.
more so than many other countries. I've seen the numbers, it went right to the floor.
Yes.
You are picking up, that's
Yes.
really good, and the trend line for that. You're still at least 2 or 3 years behind getting to the levels you were at pre-COVID.
Yes.
So I don't think there's any harm right now in pushing for growth. I mean, you have to be realistic. You've
Yeah.
got to get bums in beds, as they say in the industry.
And you know, for Bhutan, we are looking at getting 300,000 numbers annually, which is not a huge number by any standard. It's very achievable. And we want to have, like you're saying, not necessarily people who have a lot of money, but people who can afford to have to come to Bhutan, and more importantly, they are very caring for the environment. More importantly, they love to contribute to communities. What is the market like in the world for that regenerative groove, or maybe the conscious traveler? But I feel, you know, yesterday I had on my slide 12 trillion the market, minimum 12 trillion market. In terms of numbers, you're looking at millions.
Well, as I say, there is a big shift in the marketplace now. Middle-income people they're not always looking at price. They're looking at quality, obviously, but the quality has 2 meanings. It's not just the quality of the bed and the food that you're eating, it's the quality of the property you're staying in, and their commitment to looking after the surroundings and their community that they're in. There's a huge interest in that now. It's growing, and it's hard to put it. I don't know about the 12 trillion. Is it how many trillion?
12 trillion.
Yeah, I don't know where. I haven't
Minimum.
seen that data, but I'm sure when you look at global population, we've certainly seen a shift in Europe and in the countries I've been. So I wouldn't be. If you're aiming at 300,000, I don't think that's totally achievable.
Very, very.
Even with your current,
Actually.
even with your current policies.
Yeah.
But I will say this: we all know how to turn tourism on, volume on. Most destinations haven't learned how to turn it off, or to modulate it.
Yes.
That is going to be the big challenge. So you've got to be starting to thinking of different ways ask yourself, what are we really trying to achieve with that 300,000? Where is that money going to go? So long as you can prove to the visitor it's going into the community, that's good. But then are you also preparing each of those communities to be able to receive those guests in a form that works for, them? Community engagement, I would argue, is the next most important piece of this. And somehow we have to have that education from the bottom up to meet this education we're talking from the top down.
The other thing is, and from your experience, of course, we're looking at, we want to understand what is the average age group that's looking at, regenerative travel, conscious travel. Where are this, especially in terms of regions or countries? Because it's trying to target market.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't pinpoint it exactly because, for example, it's normally an older group that right now have been buying Bhutan, to put it so crudely, because they've got the savings and they have the savings and they can afford to come here for the week or 10 days even, and with the tariff included. because they want to stay in a fairly comfortable, expensive place. I argue there are still plenty of that market. In Asia, I would argue there are also people with the money. But the market I think you really want to grow is the market underneath that. It's the middle income, it's the people who are professionals that are becoming very concerned about their children's future. So people like yourself, I don't know, how old are your children? Maybe that's a too personal question, but I mean, if you've got teenagers right now, you're beginning to get really worried.
Yes.
Okay? So, and the young people are also, we have a major problem in I can speak now in Europe, particularly in North America. The young people are getting very, very upset, very concerned, because every day all they're hearing is the world's falling apart, and they're saying, how do I fit into this? So there is a huge growth in the interest in what can I do to help, what can I want to learn. Young people wanting to get out of the city and start a small farm. They're taking these permaculture courses. They're signing up for things like ecosystem restoration communities, and they're going and spending 6 months at a place. And what they're learning in the process is not only how to look after themselves and grow things and work together in community, but they're learning the other culture. And flip that over and say, if the host community can benefit from that, you've got young people that are anxious to leave. I'm thinking there's got to be a way in which they can spend more time with people in their own generation who can come and have this experience. They may not be able to afford to spend the same tariff rate, but they will probably want to stay longer. So the economic benefit of their being here is going to be just the same. And more importantly, if they still help young people see Bhutan in a different light, and you can stop this, what your Prime Minister calls an existential crisis, how do you value that? Yes. I mean, so you may have to, I know this may or may not be acceptable, but I think you have to begin to get flexible. The world is changing so fast.
Anna, Bhutan, picking up from what our Prime Minister said, existential crisis, we have lost quite a young population to other countries, especially Australia.
Exactly.
And we have this urgent call to change and revive. His Majesty initiated the Galifu Mindfulness City, a very regenerative city, we would call it. It's a regenerative city, sustainable, mindful city. And these are all because we need to urgently find solutions to make Bhutan attractive for our own youth and younger generation, like you were saying earlier about talking about my children, a teen, this is very important. In that context, do we still continue focusing on regenerative tourism, because this is very niche in the market? So, and how do we?
It's not that niche. You only want 300,000 people. Right?
Yes.
No, that is important. I mean, it's nothing compared. There was a statistic of the number of international visitors in Anatolia and Turkey in a day, which is 10 times something like 5 times, I think it was, what you're looking at in a year. So don't worry about the demand not being there. All right?
Demand is there. That's
the
good to
demand
hear.
is there categorically. I can say the demand is there.
So what you're saying is we continue. I think Bhutan only 300,000, maybe a little more than that. There's such a big number out there. We can get it.
Well, the most important thing is it's not the number. It's about the number in relation to the spaces where those people are going to go and how they are going to spend their time. Right? It is not just the number. Okay, 2 things. You're talking about Galifu, which I actually think is a very exciting idea.
Be excited.
Because what you can do with Galifu is you can start to attract people who are leaders in the businesses or enterprises of the future. And so long as Galifu lives up to the brochure, if you like, and is truly sustainable, is protecting the wildlife, is a beautiful, clean place to live, it's self-sustaining, it's efficient, all of these beautiful things. That is going to be the best way of marketing Bhutan. But at the same time, because that's going to take 10 years to complete, if at the same time you're going to need a strategy of making sure that some of those 300,000 or even 400,000 visitors can move around this country more easily. So you're going to need probably to develop different entry points. You're going to make sure your route structure of moving around is okay. But as importantly, those communities that are in the eastern part of the country, and take advantage of their uniqueness. You've got so many different ecosystems. Way up north, it's quite different to way down south. how can they differentiate themselves so that people realize it's not just one country that all looks the same? Most of your visitors right now will have an image of Bhutan that is basically Paro, Thimphu, Punakha, and that's it, and completely miss what's available in the far north, the far east, the far south. So that gives you an incredible opportunity. So don't just put all your eggs in the yellow food basket.
Yes.
Put the energy into, as I say, not just distributing, because you can't just create a brochure and say go here, go there.
Yes.
Because right now the appetite might well be to see another Bhutan. If they're not ready, you've done yourself more damage.
Yes.
But start to prepare them to see that there is a visitor who will come, who will respect the locals, the traditions, and be mindful themselves. Now, it's a lot. I know that's an awful lot to think about, but there's one thing I know about Bhutan now, is you can do it.
Yes, thank you. I think thank you for believing in us. Certainly we'll have to, we must follow what Gelafo is doing. I think it's a mindful city. It's aligning with our GNH values.
Yeah, I'm very
It's
excited.
a great initiative that we're very excited about. And the other thing is, talking about the current challenges, how would we get the private sector, especially the hoteliers, to follow the path of regenerative when all they need is numbers for them? How does it work? Do you have examples of other countries?
You know, what I find interesting is the concept of regeneration and tourism, the two together, is less than 5 years old, right? And it's still seeping through. For the entire globe, there's very few people who would understand what that means.
Yes.
All right. So when it comes to your hoteliers, right now their minds are on filling their bellies and making sure their families
Yes.
can still go forward and they can plan their
right.
children's education.
Rightly so.
They're in trouble. So don't talk to them about regeneration.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to. What you can talk to them about is, how you can talk to them, and I know you did this during COVID because all the work being done on greening, on sustainability, it was all done during COVID. The standards are there now. You can talk about standards in order to satisfy the customer of the future. Don't confuse them with regenerative tourism, because you're also putting that concept at risk. Because people are saying, you simply don't get it, do you?
Yes.
I'm really hungry, I can't pay my debt.
Exactly.
So focus right now on doing the basics, making sure the standards are up, so that people, the less wealthy, who will come here and gladly pay the tariff, but they still want hot water if they can get it in the morning. They want a comfortable bed, they want it clean, they want it food, etc. Focus on the best that you can be at that 3-star level.
Yes.
And also focus on building up your normal relationships with the inbound tour operators.
Yes.
And build that up to a point. In the meantime, give yourself, I would say, at least 3, 4 years, 5 years of investment in education with your government people, your policymakers, but as important, the industry associations, so that they feel comfortable to introduce these ideas and can show examples of people doing it. And there are examples even in Bhutan, but there are examples in Nepal of small holdings doing beautiful regenerative things. So do it, keep it in balance. If you, otherwise you'll create a cross you wish you hadn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree, Anna. I think firstly understanding the basics. I think the urgent responsibility that the department has is helping those who have not been able to revive after COVID, but also keeping in mind setting these basic standards, going along it, not just focusing on one and then forgetting the other one.
Don't even think about trying to jump into regeneration
Yeah.
if you aren't at the basic level sustainable. You're not doing the right things there.
Yeah.
But I know this, that you cannot get people to follow you into a new world, which is really what we're asking them to do. If they're really suffering, if you don't appear to understand what they need now, you want to take people with you, not have them pulling you back all the time. And also, it's working with leaders across the industry and across your political classes as well, to gradually educate them that we can't keep doing just this. If we do, we'll end up like the Barcelonas and the problem. In other words, you can't keep growing on numbers. You have to start to grow on real, true values, leaking into the community. And that can only happen if you're starting to follow some of these regenerative principles of doing things. and that takes a while to learn and to internalize. When they've done that, then they're able to if you like, proselytize or go out and speak to their own communities. But until they feel confident, you're also putting them in a difficult position.
Yeah, true. And you started conscious travel.
Yeah, yeah.
What is a conscious traveler? Who is a conscious traveler?
Well, a conscious traveler is a mindful traveler, right? It's the same word.
They should all be going to GMC then.
Yes, of course. They should. Well, the traveller, you've got the distinction between a country being a mindful country that is pursuing a set of goals that's which are manifest in the GNH, right?
GNH.
Gross national happiness, with all the pillars, which are well-being pillars. It's the same thing. I've now forgotten the question, which because
So who are these conscious travelers?
yeah, so conscious travelers. So there's the mindful destination, if you like, which you are a mindful destination. And then there's the mindful traveler. The mindful traveler is someone who's woken up to the fact that we're not just here to consume. We're not here to get wealthy. We're here to be all that we can possibly be. They've woken up to the fact that there are limits on everything.
Yes.
They've shifted their priorities into, as I say, it's almost like there's a spiritual dimension here. There's into caring, into looking after the rest of our kin out there in the natural world.
Yeah.
And so they've woken up to the fact that we do need to change the way we live on the planet.
Yes. Anna, thank you. Anna, so going back to what's happening inside that beautiful Dumkar Zong. So by the way,
we've got pictures of that.
Yes, yes. By the way, we said Dumkar Zong. Dumkar is as a white conch, and it's also a name of the village of our ancestral kings in Linchi, Eastern Bhutan.
All right.
One of the beautiful villages in Eastern Bhutan. So that's the name. But like I said, this is so perfect fit for our first Regenerative Forum. It's epitomizes environmental conservation, preservation. You can see it, you can feel it. Anna, going to that, what's happening inside that beautiful zone, Regenerative Forum, and we intend to have it annually. What is your recommendation or advice from now so that we get what we want to get out of it? How do you go about this, and what is your recommendation for this?
Well, I think essentially, I'm going to repeat myself, unfortunately, because I do think at the moment, even your leadership here, even the people participating, there's a lot of Bhutanese in the event, which is fantastic. But for them, this is a new concept. So between now and next year, we've got a bit of educating to do, learning, co-learning, shared learning. And if you would, I would love to see you in Bhutan invest in share so that people feel they're part of this movement, that it's not being pushed on them, that they're part of it. But for them to do that, they need to understand how they benefit from it. And they need to, again, if it's truly regenerative.
How much they can make money out of this also, right?
Well, sure. I mean, they're all business people.
Yes.
But, what I would suggest is that if you are operating regeneratively, nearly in every case you're going to be making better money. Not just in the amount of income you have, but in your costs, for example, are going to go down.
Yeah.
In the satisfaction of the guest is going to go up. You're going to potentially get more repeat visitors. I'll get a case study, I hope. One resort that I'm aware that was built on regenerative principles on the coast of Mexico, that's Playa Viva. They started off wanting to be basically a very upmarket glamping operation. They built the resort within the palm trees. Is now a very, very profitable organization, and is now benefiting the entire watershed.
What I feel is, regenerative is very basic. If you actually really consider like the resort you're talking about is all local materials, and it's not having to import. You can have a very basic experience, very natural experience, and yet it's very you can actually have a high income. I think we need to create awareness to our people that you can actually make more money with less investment, keeping it very natural and organic.
Exactly.
So that's something
Yeah.
that we want to.
And you know, there's a reason for the word RE, the letters RE in the front of it, because it's remember.
Yeah.
To when remember or member is a part of your body, a part. It's broken, it's fragmented. When you remember, you're putting those fragments together, right? So that, in many cases, we're going back to how life used to be lived.
Yes.
But you're completely right. If you look at success, not just in terms of the dollars spent, but the benefit generated, it's always more.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I've seen some of our tour operators here package beautiful, very natural, low-cost experiences, and they benefit a lot of it. You know, and this is regenerative.
Yeah,
you
people,
know?
and also what they do is, you see that the luxury hotels, a lot of them are talking about being regenerative because they can afford to have the best local artist, put beautiful art in every room. They can have beautiful people doing things around the visitor. They have lovely pools and they're all clean and da 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 da. But most people want real life, you know. So not everybody needs all of those things. They want to be able to sit down and have a chat with
That's
the
what
local.
they come for Bhutan.
Yeah, there was a lady doing on one of the workshops talking about the weaving that they were saving from extinction because
Ama.
Ama.
Yes.
It was such a beautiful story. Now I know of all kinds of people, even in my own circle.
Ama is mother, so
Yes.
mother to daughter.
There's a beautiful name
daughter
for
to
the
mother.
company, and the mother had passed it on.
Daughter.
But you know, I know so many people, even in my circle and in the general marketplace, who are really interested in resurrecting new fabrics, new fibers, learning how to do things at a long last.
So that's exactly what Bhutan offers, you know. I mean, sometimes there's a misperception that Bhutan has to have this very complicated hotels or very complicated experiences. People come here, tourists come here to really enjoy the very basics. But this is what Bhutan's all about, you know, very basic.
You know, I mean,
experience.
basically we spend most of our time, we don't spend it sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, the bathroom takes up a certain amount of time. You just want the basics there. You want
Yes.
hot water if you can get it. That's my favourite, actually.
Yeah.
But, you know, you want to meet people. You want to interact with people. You want
Very
to learn about their lives.
So Anna, you know, thank you for taking your time. This first Regenerative Bhutan Forum, we want to continue annually. I think I shared this with you earlier. Our expectation and goal is to have people like yourself, leaders committed in regenerative, sustainable tourism, to come to Bhutan, experience Bhutan, and go back and be able to bring in more people who care for the environment, who feel that the need from their travel, it has to have positive impact to the communities, to the country, and to themselves. So this is the goal of regenerative tourism, and we hope that you're able to join.
Well, I would love to.
Be
Well,
partner to
I
this.
think I've said I would love to assist you in that process because I know there are a lot of very capable people who are my teachers, whether it's on the environmental side or the economic side or the built environment side, that would love to be involved in this kind of work.
You know, it's a great privilege for me to be working for tourism in Bhutan with the
Yes.
vision, you know, 1974. You know, who thought that was a regenerative vision for us, gifted
Yes.
by our monarchs?
Well,
You know, it's
I don't want to get too hung up on the word regenerative. Remember the RE. It's about remembering. It's about a return to living in harmony with life.
Yes.
We've got this fancy word we just throw out, regenerative now, but it's really returning to good living.
Exactly.
In South America they call it bien vivir. All right. They've been doing regenerative
Sounds
for
French.
years. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's French. Maybe I should be Spanish, isn't it?
Yes.
But the point is there are cultures around the world that all the North American, the indigenous people, this is how they live. And they just don't have these fancy words for it.
Okay. So thank you once again,
Right,
Anna.
thank you.
So
Sorry, I took
it's a
too
pleasure.
much time? Or?
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure speaking to you, Anna. Anna is here as part of the keynote. Of course, she delivered a wonderful keynote speech yesterday at the first Bhutan Innovation Forum. It's taking place here at this beautiful Dunkarzong. No better place than Dunkarzong for the regenerative sustainable tourism. And Anna, it's a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you.
We hope to see you again in Bhutan. And with, of course, a lot of regenerative or remembering or caring tourism. I think you're a leader in this part of this this area of tourism, of course, but which is needed by
Yes,
everybody.
I think, and a lot of
everybody.
people are doing
Yeah.
it very well. So
Yeah.
we can also provide some examples now next
Sure,
year.
sure. So until next time, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I would
much.
thank you
Pleasure.
very much for the time, especially in such a location.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.